Welcome to Midlife Unfiltered, a podcast about unapologetically embracing the season of me as we live the lives we want in midlife and beyond. I'm Anita McLaughlin.
I'm Erica Webb. We're here to make some noise, say hell no to outdated stereotypes, and hell yes to living life on our terms. So hello and welcome to this episode of Midlife Unfiltered with me, Erica Webb, and of course my beautiful co-host, Anita. I am flying solo for just a second though because I want to introduce this episode to you. And we've created two episodes that are, I'm going to call them sister episodes. We've got part A and part B. And over those two episodes, Anita and I are chatting with 5 different women about their menopause transition journeys. All 5 of these women have gone through menopause in slightly different ways or are in perimenopause in slightly different circumstances. And we want to share these conversations with you in the hopes that you will, be able to connect with their stories in some way. I am going to throw to Anita actually to create a little bit more context, and then I'm going to introduce our first guest.
Well, this is really about your personal story. And the reason we wanted to capture the stories of everyday women, for want of a term, is because we do interview experts in certain fields in this podcast. But it was more to add that extra dimension. I think when women hear somebody else's personal story, it just resonates at a deeper level and in another way than what hearing valuable information, if you like, to solve a problem they might be having, for example, which is the conversations we have with the experts. So think of it probably as having a chat to one of your mates or somebody that you might have just met for the first time who is asking you about your menopause journey so far and how that makes you feel and what comes up for you. So that's kind of what we're doing.
So yeah, just as Anita said, it's like listening in on a chat with one of your mates. And that first chat is with Lyndal. Anita is chatting with Lyndal, who is 53 years old. She is technically in perimenopause because her last period was in April 2024. So she hasn't quite hit that 1 year post your last period to have technically been through the menopause. So I am going to throw to that chat between Anita and Lyndal now.
So when I say the word menopause to you, straight away off the bat, what are some of the words that spring to mind?
Discovery. Discovery is one that springs to mind and change, discovery, cope, manage, persevere, which is or pursuit. That's a much better word.
Yeah. So tell me more about discovery. Why does discovery come up, do you think?
I think it comes up because I've been living a long time on a monthly cycle and noticing how that affects my mood and my hunger and my personal control and management. And it's reflecting on this. My last period was in April this year. And I've noticed that I didn't actually pay much attention at the time because it was my normal, but I noticed that, after my period, I tended to have, I could hold my reserve better. Like if I wanted to eat healthy, it was easy straight after my period. And for those first 2 weeks, I was sort of in control of my body. And then I would go through all like a craving before my period. Chocolate was great. And then I had my period and then I start that self-control all over again. And I've had a lifetime of sort of yo-yo dieting and managing my food and weight gain. It has always been a challenge. But I've noticed since I haven't been having a period anymore, I don't get those fluctuations. And I'm realizing now 4 months into that, my journey from not having a period, it's a mindset challenge for me to have that self-control. I sort of linked with my period. I thought, it doesn't matter if I eat chocolate now because when I finish my period, I'll be great. And now I don't have that. My mindset change is a challenge.
Because you don't feel that you can have the chocolate anymore?
No. I wish I did. It's not, I don't feel that. It's just the cycle of my body is different.
Right.
And
Okay.
I was used to that cycle being, okay, I can eat healthily for these 2 weeks, absolutely no problem. And then the cravings set in because of hormonal changes.
Right.
And now I just I've been overeating ever since. But I just have to get used to taking control of my body and myself without this cycle being the influence. I think that's
Yes. Okay. I
that's my
understand
kind
now.
of challenge now, because it's always been, this is my life and this is how it's going in this cycle, but that cycle's not happening anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
So you're
And
used to
that's quite
tuning
different.
into your body telling you certain things through that cycle, for example. That
Yes,
was
through
you
the cycle. And the cravings is one of those things. But I don't have that cycle that's dictating, I suppose, because I know that hormones play a role in hunger and the need for sugar or carbohydrates at certain levels of your cycle. So I need to sort of think, okay, if my body's not cycling through that program anymore, I need to think about that myself.
Yeah, that's so good. That's really wise. That's fantastic, because I love that you've got that awareness now that, yeah, that's really awesome. So you can go, well, this is different. My body's telling me something else now, or it's not telling me what it used to tell
Not
me.
telling me that, no. That's right.
Yeah. So now what do I need to listen for? Are there other cues that my body might start talking to me with to tell me
Yeah.
what's going on? Yeah.
That's right. And those cues, I kind of miss them. And it's not
Right.
very, very long for me. I miss that because I need to get used to what my body is changing into and what is it going to tell me, or is it not going to tell me anymore? It's a really interesting time, and I'm asking myself a lot of questions about, well, if my body's not like that. The self-control thing is one that's a real challenge, because I felt that my cycle helped me to be healthy for at least a part of my month.
Right.
And now I have to think, okay, if I haven't got that cycle happening, I need to choose healthiness. And it's a challenge.
Yeah. But that is also fantastic. So it sounds to me like feeling healthy is something that you value your health. And now you're going to start tuning into taking ownership of that more, because your body's handing
Not
that
doing it for me.
ownership to you. Yeah,
Yeah.
your responsibility is yours. And this is so good. You wouldn't know this, but we've just had the conversation with Angela, and that was a key part of her message, was
Oh,
that,
right. Oh,
yeah,
interesting.
in all of this change that we feel in midlife is really you have a choice. You can choose to take ownership of that and choose ways for your body and yourself. Or, for some women, it's still that denial, or I know that something's going on, but I'm not acknowledging it. I'm not being
Yes.
aware of
Yeah.
that. Whereas you're
Yeah.
saying I'm aware, which is it is always a great place to start. So that's really good.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm aware, and I'm now sort of investigating. I'm in that investigating stage.
And
If
how
this
are
is
you
going to be the new me, what do I have to learn more about, and how am I going to skill myself up to manage it?
and have you got any ideas yet?
Well, just in the last few weeks, I went to the GP to talk about that really, and then the other symptoms that I've been having that potentially are a result of stopping my periods and hormonal changes, and those kinds of symptoms are the hot flushes.
Yeah.
So during the day and at night, just all of a sudden overheating. I started yoga about 8 months ago, just because I noticed that my body was stiffening up. And I felt like it was really, really helping. However, since my last period in April, even though I'm continuing with the yoga 3 times a week, my body's not loosening up the way that it was anymore. So that sort of stiffness and the achy joints is a challenge, and it's really annoying because I am trying hard in that area. So I went to the doctor to talk about all this, and I hadn't seen this doctor before, and they said, oh, well, you can have a patch of tablet of this or that and blah, blah, blah. What do you want?
So
And
no, just rewind that for me, and
Yeah.
can you get a bit more specific for me? Because these conversations that we have are really important, the ones that we have with our doctors, because your first port of call is a GP, right?
Yes.
Usually.
Yeah.
Okay. So tell me, are you happy to share a little bit about that conversation without, you don't have to go too personal if you don't want to go there.
Well,
But
the conversation, I have had 2 conversations because I shared these symptoms and she asked a few questions, and then she went straight into, these are the options. What do you want? And I said, I don't know what I want. And she said, here's a website, maybe come back and see me in a fortnight. And I left and I reflected on that conversation, and I thought, what do I want? And what I want is a conversation from a health professional that talks me through, yes, these symptoms, are or can be related to hormone changes. This is what it means for your body. There's various things we can do about it. And, a patch or a pill is one of those things. What else is there? So I was dissatisfied with that initial consult. So I asked a whole lot of girlfriends from my age group who and what they would recommend. And I have a girlfriend, strangely enough, who's pregnant, and her friend is a GP specialising in her stage of life. And so she asked that GP for somebody who can recommend for my stage of life. So I went to that GP just last week, and it was completely different. So this was a GP that's a member of the Menopause Society, if that's what they call it.
Yeah, there is a Menopause Society of Australia.
Yes, and she sat down, faced me, put her hands in her lap and looked me in the eye, said, tell me about how you're feeling. What's your family life like? Do you have a partner and children? What's your living situation? How do you feel when you do this? What about when you go to bed at night? How does that, really, really personal questions, but that's just what I wanted. And she hasn't said, the whole appointment was about me, my medical history, my personal situation. Do I have support at home? It was a more holistic approach. And she said, I'm not going to talk to you about any solutions or problem solving. This is just a discovery. And so she's sending me to get a full bloods and a bone density scan. And then in a fortnight, I go back and I talk to her about those results. I had to fill a questionnaire in, and then we'll talk about solutions. So I'm in this a limbo, but I feel really excited about this period that I'm in at the moment, because I found someone who listened, and I found someone who shared a lot of knowledge in that appointment.
That is so good. And what 2 very different experiences. So imagine if you'd stopped after the first experience, looked at the website and went back for another appointment. Your outcome would be very different. And what I love about what you've just said is that you hunted around, you just didn't accept that, which is what we want women to do. We want you to explore and not accept just any old thing. If you listen to your gut, if your gut's saying, no, that's not what I need right now, I need something else, don't stop until you find that something else. And that's so good. That's such a great story.
And that's why I feel really excited, because I'm proud of myself that I didn't just walk away and say, oh, okay, give me a pill, give me a patch or whatever. And that might end up being what I choose to do. I mean, I don't know.
Who knows?
I'm glad I don't know, because I'm still exploring.
Yeah, having an open mind to the experience. And that is so good. That's Good on you. That's exactly what you want to be doing, I think. The
Mm,
curiosity and the discovery is so important. And having an open mind and an open heart will ultimately lead you to what is right for you.
for me.
Eh,
Yeah,
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 yeah, because we're all different, right?
yeah.
And so it's so good that you felt, and don't you think it's interesting? There's so much going off in my mind now. So isn't it interesting that what mattered most to you initially was that you felt like you were seen and heard, and somebody
Yeah.
was taking the time to appreciate and understand you as a woman?
Yes, and I'm a bit of a, I love doing research and podcasts, which we are on now. I love listening, and it's such a great way to learn. And so, for the past year or so, I've been listening to things about perimenopause and menopause and trying to educate myself. But I have to say, until you're at that stage, that learning doesn't kick into action until you're
Mm,
in that stage that you're listening about.
mm,
So it's
mm,
only the last few months when I've been listening to things, I think, actually, I'm not feeling hungry in this stage anymore. Or I've actually got cravings all the time, and not just once once a month anymore. And hold on, I didn't injure myself, so why am I hurting? Like all of these questions that I'm asking, and you do want to have a conversation because you do want to feel normal.
mm. You want to feel
And
like you.
normal is a big range for a woman, well, at any stage of life, really. But this is my next stage of life, and I want to feel normal. That in this range, that these experiences are perfectly normal, and if I choose to resolve how they manifest, there are options for me, and people who have experience and know how to advise. That's
Yeah.
So I am excited that I've found somebody that will listen and educate me.
Yeah, and that's great. Oh, fantastic. So you sound like you're on the right path now. I love that. So you touched on some of the symptoms that you were feeling. So you said the hot flushes, you've got some
Mhm.
joint pain.
Yes, and
Any
particularly hips are the worst at the moment. But like the yoga example that I was doing downward dog, and my head was moving towards my knees if I was leaning forward or anything. But now when I do these movements that I was doing fine leading up to April, I'm now grimacing.
because they're painful.
Yeah, it's painful.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's painful.
I'm
Mm.
persevering, but it is painful, and I just don't think it should be.
No, it shouldn't be. No, it
No,
shouldn't
it
be.
should be getting better
And that's
theoretically.
your body telling you that something isn't. That's your body's language now, are those
Yeah,
symptoms, and it's saying, "Look, Lyndall, I love you, and I want you to listen to me because here is a sign that something is out of whack." Yeah, and
yes,
and we
yeah.
we need to address the out of whackness. Yeah, yeah.
Mm, mm,
Joint pain was a big one for me too. So I'm postmenopausal. So I'm 57 in a couple of weeks, and I was probably 51, where
okay.
yes, I was a little bit ahead of you, earlier than you there. So I can honestly say it does all settle, but I listened to my body. I chose a different
Mm,
path, and I made some changes to how I gave up alcohol, for example,
mm,
and the pain is inflammation in your body. So I that was one way of reducing the inflammation. I explored that, like you, is it could let's one variable at a time, right? The scientist in me, one
yes,
variable at a time. And that was a variable that I changed. And I got to say, within a month, my
you're
joint
feeling
pain
better.
was gone.
Well,
Yeah, my joint
it's
pain was gone.
since I saw this doctor last week on Tuesday, I have been living without sugar.
Yes,
And
that's
yeah, and
another
because I listened
antagonist.
to a podcast on the way home from the doctors that said, sugar's an inflammatory, and I think that estrogen's an anti-inflammatory. Please feel free to edit that out if it's not correct.
No,
But
estrogen is protective, so it does.
yeah.
Yes, yeah. And when we lose our estrogen, which is what's happening to you now, then
Mm,
that what we've been able to get away with in the
mm,
past, like be able to handle, um,
yes.
is no longer the case. And that's where your attitude is so good, where you go, I know it's different now, and I have to do what's right for my body and find out what
Yeah.
I need to change to feel good again. Yeah.
Yeah. So I haven't been eating sugar. Um, and I mean, just after 5 days, and I did yoga yesterday morning, it was better.
Mm.
Not better as in healed or perfect, but improved, I should say. It was improved. So, you know,
That's
if I can wean
encouraging.
myself off sugar, that would be great for so many reasons.
Yeah.
But
Well,
but it did
maybe,
make a difference.
and maybe just take note of that, like write that
Yeah.
down. Go, this week I felt that, did this, and that made a positive change,
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
so good. So some joint
Mm.
pain, anything else that you've noticed? What about in your the way that you think? Like, have you got any of that
The
brain
brain fog.
fog? Yeah.
Yes. I cannot remember anybody's name to save my life.
You're not going crazy, Lyndal. I want to tell you that here and now. You are not going crazy. That's okay. That's what happens.
That's what happens. I suppose about looking retrospectively, if I think back about 10 years ago, I started to get some sort of driving anxiety. Like driving through a tunnel, I'd get anxious. Freeways, I'd get anxious. It was just uncomfortable about it, and I genuinely think that might have been like a perimenopausal symptom coming to me, because I've always driven long distances everywhere, and that was something that changed. And then more recently, so the hot flushes have been around for about a year, but they were just weekly or so, and now they're daily.
Right. Okay, that's a big change.
Yeah, the brain fog, forgetting words and forgetting people's names, that's annoying.
So how do you feel energy-wise? How's your energy level?
Yeah, pretty good. Pretty good. I've been making an effort to, walk more, pushing myself in terms of that energy. So, yeah, that feels okay. Yeah.
And stress levels? Do you feel more
Well, they
stressed?
go up and down. But my stress goes up and down for reasons. Like, I don't feel stressed just because. Like, I feel stressed because I've got a lot of work to do, or family things are getting busy, or my parents are aging. Those kinds of things as cause stress, but I don't feel a stress level rising, for no reason.
Okay. And have you felt any weight gain?
Yes. Yeah, I reckon I've put on 4 kilos in the last 4 months. And that's why my focus on the cravings kind of thing, I started to investigate that, because I just felt out of control with my eating.
Right. Okay.
Mm.
Righty. Now. And so you've noticed that more since your period has stopped.
Yes.
The weight has changed as well with that point in time. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Largely due because I'm eating more. Yes, but definitely I feel that. Another symptom that I have been having is lightheadedness or dizziness occasionally. It's not a daily thing, but sometimes I'll just feel a dizziness take over, and it's not related to any activity that I'm doing, but I do occasionally feel lightheaded.
And how do you feel within yourself? Like you said, you're excited in a way, like you're looking forward to what's, this next stage of your life. How do you feel moving forward into your 60s and your 70s, your 80s and your 90s? Have you thought much about that?
I've thought about retirement. I think one of the reasons I feel excited, apart from finding a doctor who I can speak with, is that I've been talking to friends about myself and my body, and they've been sharing their experiences as well. And that's a real connecting with people that for a long time all we talked about was our children, and now we're talking about ourselves.
Yes, that's so good. Oh, I love
Yeah,
that.
and I really love that connection that I'm getting with my friends. It's developing a closeness, and that's a reason to feel excited. So,
and it's helpful.
it is helpful as well, and I'm feeling excited about that. I love learning, so I'm feeling excited about learning something new. And I'm listening to podcasts. I think, I usually listen to them when I'm walking, and I think, I really need to re-listen and take some notes about that. But I am focused with regards to aging long term. One of the reasons why the joint pain I feel is an important thing to solve is because I see myself in retirement focused on health even more, because I just feel that time will allow me to do things. But if I don't get my health under control now, I won't be able to manage it in retirement or older age. So, yeah.
Yeah, health is a priority. I totally appreciate that. That's number one for me. That's my highest value, is my health. And I've really changed my whole lifestyle to try and protect that as much as possible, or be as healthy as I can be. You're never going to, whatever that, it's never going to be 100%, whatever that is, but I just want to set myself up as best I can. Well, I think that's great. Is there anything else you wanted to tell me about your menopause experience and maybe a bit about midlife? I think we've covered a fair bit. Is there anything else you can think of?
A fair bit. And it's also, these recent discoveries in the past week of seeing a doctor who listens. Yeah, that's been a
big one.
It's a really big one. So I'm getting my bone density test tomorrow. And when I go back and see her in early August, she said, you might do this. I've done this questionnaire that's about my symptoms, moderate, non-existent or intense. I can't remember the rating scale. But she said, you might rate on that scale very low. And she said, we might decide that, maybe a few dietary changes or physical exercise things might be enough. But then she said, we might do a bone density scan and think, well, actually, that's deteriorating. You should be on hormone replacement because of that. So she said, we don't know, we might be just thinking of hot flushes at the moment. But she said, once we investigate, we can make an informed decision. So, I'm interested in finding out.
Love that.
What the investigations lead to.
Yeah. And what the possible solutions are for you to help you feel a bit better with the things that are bothering you the most, or what your body's saying, listen when you pay attention to. I have had osteoporosis for some time, and mine was caused by an overactive parathyroid. And so once that was removed, things have stabilized and things have improved. But what I learned through listening to another podcast was that it could be also helpful to get your visceral fat measurement done with your bone density scan, because that's something else that they can actually show in that scan. So while you're there, you don't do anything else. They just take other readings to understand what your visceral fat score is. Okay. So and the difference between subcutaneous and visceral fat. So you might be putting on weight, but the fat that is potentially more life-threatening, health-threatening, is the fat that's up against on the inside, not the one that you can feel this with, you can pinch on the outside. It's the stuff that's gathering around your vital organs. And that's what the DEXA scan will show. I just think it's an opportunity to find out a little bit more, particularly if you're, noticing a change in your weight. Do you want to understand that a little bit more? Because it might not be an issue. It might just be, part of an adjustment in your body. On the outside, because our body because we're not making that estrogen in our ovaries anymore, your body's actually making it and storing it in your fat cells.
Yeah.
And so our body is always trying to protect us. And that's what's going on there, is it's a bit of a protection because we're not
Yeah.
making it anymore in our ovaries. So, but it is not so protective, or it becomes more dangerous for our health, if that's a word, if it is visceral.
Mm.
Yeah, then we have to take some different plans of it, make different changes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
All right. I've got that written down. Thank you.
It's so nice having a chat. I really love it. I think you're a beautiful woman, you know that. And yeah, I'm excited for you. I really am excited for you.
Thank you, and I look forward to what your next guest says.
So hey, it's Erica again. I hope you love that chat between Anita and Lyndal. Our next guest is Liz. And Liz is 52 years old. And Liz went through menopause surgically. And so we're going to hear all about her experience in her chat with Anita now.
And I used to say we are live, but I'm here with the beautiful Liz. Liz is going to be chatting with us today, ladies, about her menopause journey. Just as a bit of background, Liz and I have known each other. We were just chatting maybe for about
7, 8.
8 years. Yeah. Bloody long time. It's been a great time. We've done quite a bit in that time. And Liz met me when I was selling swimwear in Sequins and Sand. And then when I put the Cosy Confidence campaigns together, Liz jumped in. And Liz, you went to each and every one. You were there for the first one all the way
Yep.
through to the last one that we had.
Yep.
And there could be more coming up. I don't know. Depends when I decide that let's do
You'll
another
know
one.
when the time's right.
That's it, when the time's right. But yeah, so Liz is a trooper and has a big heart, and testament to the fact that you're here today sharing your story with other women so that they can know that they're not alone, and that if they are experiencing something like you might have, that it gives them a bit of comfort, I think. So thank you for sharing, Lizzie.
It's okay.
Thank you
Hopefully
for
I
being
can
here.
help some people out.
Yeah, I know you will. There's no hoping you will. So thank you. So where do you want to start, Liz? Should we start at the beginning? Your menopause story. Where does it begin?
So my menopause story, I actually wouldn't quite know if I was in menopause, but I ended up having a hysterectomy on the 1st of September 2016. And I remember the date because it was the best day ever. Only because I had some pesky fibroids doing some nasty things,
Right.
and life wasn't probably healthy living because of side effects from the fibroids.
Right.
So I had a full hysterectomy, except I had my right ovary kept in, which I nicknamed Olive.
Olive the ovary.
Olive the ovary.
Hung in there?
I know, weird.
No, whatever gets you through.
No apologies to anyone listening called Olive. And it all went really, really well. It knocks you around a bit. I think it was a good 3 to 6 months recovery, and I guess your hormones are a bit all over the shop, but crazy how quickly the hot flushes began, and I guess I was in menopause, medically induced.
Medically induced from having your one ovary was removed?
Yes, and I had everything was removed except for my right ovary.
Right, okay. And they took out those fibroids, I'm assuming, as well.
Yes.
So you had a nice clean uterus, and an Olive was hanging in there. Okay.
And everything went along smoothly. I didn't require HRT. It was never suggested to use it. I wasn't against using it. I just was going along happily. And then 11th of June 2018, I got diagnosed with bilateral breast cancer, which was thanks to Olive. So obviously went through chemo and radiation and treatment for that, which then led to getting put on tamoxifen, which was a hormone blocker. So I guess I was well and truly put into
menopause transition
via medically again. Then I remember going back in 2020 to the oncologist for a just general checkup, and she said, "How's those hot flushes going?" And I said, "Yeah, they're probably a bit more." And she said, "That's because that ovary's deciding to work again."
Right. So when you had your breast cancer treatment, they put you on tamoxifen to inhibit the estrogen
Yes.
in your
Yeah,
body
once you've
because
finished your active treatment.
because a lot of breast cancers love estrogen. That's their
Yes.
favorite diet.
Yes. And
But
we
they never
obviously only need one ovary to feed their diet too.
Yeah, so that's interesting that they kept the ovary in
Mm.
there during your breast cancer treatment. So do you still have Olive?
No.
Olive was removed then?
Olive was removed in 2020.
Right. Okay.
Olive didn't go out with a fight. What was meant to be one night in hospital was 2 surgeries later, a night in ICU and 12 days in hospital.
Oh my goodness.
The great unknown infection.
Right.
So I guess I'm probably triple medically being put into menopause, for want of a better description, for this body.
Yeah.
And I manage quite all right. I think I'm pretty lucky in the scheme of things that I haven't ever taken HRT. My hot flushes aren't that bad. They're annoying, but I think you go through phases as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a bit about my
It's quite the journey.
menopause journey. It's a different one, an interesting one. I often think, it'd be interesting to see how it is going through it naturally, but maybe I dodged a bullet, and
Yeah, we never really know. No, we will never know.
and everyone's journey is so different.
It absolutely is, so which is why it's great to have these conversations, because while someone's journey might not be exactly like yours, there might be parts of it that they'll relate to and feel like they're not alone, which is really important. Tell me, when do you remember? So how old were you when they took out your first ovary, when you had your hysterectomy?
I was 46.
You were 46, then breast cancer.
Hang on, no,
No, you would have
44.
been earlier.
I was
Yeah,
44. Then I was 46 when I got breast cancer.
right. And you're now
52.
52. Okay.
A lot of double things in there. It's a twin thing. I'm a twin. I think I take a lot from the team.
So when you had your first hysterectomy, do you remember much about the conversations that you were given? Were you given any information about how you might feel going through all this, that it would accelerate your menopausal symptoms or enhance them or anything like that? Do you remember?
Not too much. I think I was just probably happy that it was getting done, because the quality of life from the bleeding from the fibroids was, I think I was anemic and running on empty, and you never knew when the gush was going to happen.
Yeah.
But no, I never. The only thing I can really remember in hospital after the surgery was the young nurses actually saying, "Don't go on HRT if you don't need to." Big advocates against it. Never questioned why, but no, didn't get. And maybe I should have asked a bit more. I think, you got told no driving for 6 weeks, don't lift anything.
On your way.
And see you later. Till 6 weeks checkup.
6 weeks checkup. Looking back, is there anything that you think could have been done differently to help you along in all of that phase? I know you roll with the punches, Liz. That's the kind of person that you are.
I think, like, when I've talked to other people that I've met that are going in for a hysterectomy, it's nice to be able to tell them a little bit what to expect, because your hormones do change so dramatically that it's actually quite, I wouldn't say scary, but it's like a roller coaster.
And you don't feel like it's you? Do you remember what kind of feelings do you have
I
with
felt
that?
like it was you, but it's just like, it's amazing how full blown, how quickly your body just reacts to the hysterectomy. And I think, you're getting asked in hospital I ended up having 4 nights in hospital, like, are you having hot flushes yet? And like it's instantaneous. So I think it would have been nice to have had a bit of information in regards to that. But I guess at least I can try and help people that are going through it and say, well, this is what you may or may not expect because everyone's bodies react differently.
Mm.
And like to just know you're going to be tired and it will take 3 to 6 months to recover.
Yeah, it's not a one and done, and next morning you
No.
wake up and everything's
No. And it's
better
definitely
again.
not something to take lightly either. You are essentially ripping out a lot of your insides, but
Yeah, and hormones, they can pack a punch.
Mm.
They have a big job to do in our bodies. So then when you had your breast cancer treatment, I remember you did a Cosy Confidence campaign with no hair. She's so brave, incredible. And in the middle of treatment, when you were doing your chemo as well, dodging chemo appointments to come down for the shoot. How differently did that feel, going through the treatment for that and how your body might have changed?
I've thought about this question.
Have you?
And when you did one of the very first podcasts and you and Erica discussed the whole shame thing, I think that was probably one of the first things that I felt was, I guess I'll call it my shame. I wouldn't have called it shame at the time, but why has my body done this? And how are my kids meant to deal with it? And what happens if it doesn't work? I felt shame that my body, I suppose, had let me down to a degree.
Did you feel responsible for that?
I took ownership. I don't
really
think it's
hard.
anyone else's responsibility, but at the end of the day, you can't change what happens, and kind of probably a silly thing to think it was shameful, but I guess you go through all the different emotions, and
Especially in such a tough time. And your kids were
they were both still at
teenagers?
high school, teenagers.
That's hard, Liz.
Mm.
But brave of you to acknowledge that as well and to reflect on that. I think that takes being vulnerable and a lot of bravery to do that as well. We often don't give ourselves the time and the space for that.
No, and I think sometimes things do happen that make you rethink and reevaluate. And I've had to have biopsies 3 years ago when I went for my yearly checkup, and in my head I'm going, I don't have time for this. And it never gets any easier going for a checkup, but I've chosen, I could have gone off after I'd had Olive, the ovary, out, I changed to a different hormone blocker because it's a postmenopausal one, so I went to anastrozole. So I've done my 5 years on that, but I've chosen to stay on it for another 2.5 years, or 2 years, I think, went after discussing with the oncologist, because I'd rather stay on that tablet than get cancer again.
Right, so it's a preventative, right? And because it changes the hormones in your body to stop it from raising hormones that cancer might love to feast on again. Okay. Wow, that's a lot.
I mean, I've never enjoyed having periods. They were always awful. It kind of makes sense that this was my journey. We did IVF. Did it play a part in it as well? Because you do some pretty crazy things to get those eggs out with that.
Yeah.
But you can't think about that. And I don't know, I think it's good that everyone's starting to talk about all of these things in menopause, and maybe it then gets younger generations talking or knowing and realizing, well, this doesn't seem quite right in my body. And I guess the poor ones with endometriosis and things like that, there's young girls out there having to deal with a lot, and maybe it'll just make their journey a little bit easier along the way as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I think to open the door to conversations is a really good start.
Oh, we never had.
No.
I remember my mum, I hope you're not going to listen to this, saying to my dad, oh, your daughter's a woman tonight. Like,
yeah.
what the?
Yeah. It's funny you should mention that
It's like,
because
it's
we had
so
this
wrong.
we had the same conversation. It stays with me, like that moment obviously has stayed with you
Oh,
as
I can
well.
picture exactly where it was.
Me too. Like we was by the pool and I wasn't able to swim.
I was by the fireplace.
And we were with cousins or relatives that I hadn't seen for like 10 years or something. They meant nothing to me. But, oh, no, she can't swim at the moment.
And then why?
Oh, yeah,
Why?
Why? Yeah. Oh, congratulations, you're a woman. It's like,
Yay.
yeah.
Bring it on.
Yeah, bring it on. And then like you, I had terrible time with my periods as well. They were just shocking. But yeah, okay. So back to your menopause story, which is why we're here and why you want to share that information with other women. Is there anything else like coming here today?
Mm-hmm.
Your big why for doing that, and as we wrap up the conversation, what important points do you want them to know and to remind, to keep, to remember?
I think my why is because my menopause journey is probably a bit unique.
Yeah.
I guess trying to help people that may be in similar situations. And I guess I think make people aware to be your own advocate. And if you're not getting the answers that you're happy with, you go elsewhere. Don't second guess that gut feeling. I'm lucky I've had a great team of specialists. I now sadly rate like my top 10 specialist people I've had in my journey of life so far. And been through, so this gynecologist that did my hysterectomy and took Olive out, he's the guy we did IVF with. So
Right.
had quite a journey with him. But I think just to educate and empower women and just know that you're not alone, and this is a subject that everyone goes through.
Mm.
And it's nice that people are out starting to get it discussed.
Yeah.
And I think there's so many other ways that you can get treatment for symptoms and things. That book, what was that book that we read?
The Upgrade.
Upgrade.
With
I mean,
Dr. Bryson.
there's so many other ways out there that if you don't like the idea of HRT, then you can find what works for you.
Yeah, there's not just one way. That's the thing. Yeah, that's exactly right.
And I guess what inspired me to do this, I think, is just if I can help one person. I'm just little old me. I'm nothing special, but I've got a story to tell, and I guess if I can help one person out, then I've done all I need to do.
Yeah,
if I could help 10 people, would be even better.
I'm sure you'll help more than 10, Liz. Thank you. No, I think to give women a voice, really, it's by having these conversations that we give each other a voice. And goodness knows, we've got a bit of ground to make up as well because, it wasn't law to include women in health studies until about 25 years ago.
Oh, wow.
So that's, another soapbox thing for me, and that's why these conversations are so important, is because we're already behind the 8 ball. We've got ground to make up because we've been viewed as mini men. It's like, oh, for that medication, just give them half a dose because, they're smaller than men. But no consideration to how it affects our bodies because we've got the orchestra of hormones. The men have just got the wind section, Well, we've got the whole damn orchestra. So, it's so we've got ground to make up in research and understanding. And then with the understanding, hopefully comes more options. And with more options, we need to arm ourselves with information and get the A team, like you've said, you've had the A team. Get your A team together and get the right outcomes and solutions for you.
And I think I only have boys, but I think it's also I can educate them by these discussions because hopefully one day they will marry and They may have sons, they may have daughters, but I think they're willing to listen as well. They've been.
They've seen it firsthand what their mum's gone through as well. Yeah, absolutely.
So
Yeah.
it's not just empowering mums with daughters. I think it's also opening up those walls and, maybe get in touch with your feminine side a bit more and get rid of the masculine side and say to hubby, this is what I need at the moment.
Yeah, that is such good advice. Absolutely. Yeah.
And that advice came from another good egg, but I think we need to voice more how we need help, or I'm struggling with this today, the brain's foggy, or I'm just not with it.
Yeah.
Can you take the slack?
Cut me some slack. Yeah. And can you take over for a bit? Yeah, whatever
Tough
you
gig
need.
being a chick.
Well, we take on a lot, right? There's a lot of expectations. We've, had another podcast episode about that, but the expectations that women are the carers and that women will pick up the slack with our parents and with everybody else in the household, as well as hold down a job, as well as do everything, and then the shame if we don't measure up to what is expected of us. My goodness, that adds a whole other layer of.
Be interesting to have a conversation with some males. What's their shame?
Their shame is not being strong enough. Yeah, not being able to suck it up and keep carrying on, right? Showing weakness. Yeah, that's their shame.
We're all strong, but we all have our moments where we're not so strong.
Yeah.
And I think you've got to be willing to acknowledge that as well.
Yeah, that's being human, right? We're not machines.
No.
But you are beautiful.
Thank you. So are you.
Thank you, Liz.
Erica again. Thank you so much to Liz, and thank you so much to Lyndal for sharing your stories with all of us. We are so grateful for your willingness to share what can be a really vulnerable stage of life. So this was part A. Stay tuned for part B, which is already available for your listening pleasure. And in part B, I am chatting with 3 more women. We've got Tina, we've got Cynthia, and we've got Natalia. And all 3 of those women have also been through a process, a journey of the menopause transition that has been very unique. And so I'm really looking forward to sharing those conversations with you as well. So stay tuned for that one. We'll talk to you soon. Thank you for joining us for Midlife Unfiltered. If you loved this episode, you're going to love what's coming next. Be sure you're subscribed on your platform of choice so you don't miss a thing.
We'd also be delighted, and for sure do a little happy dance, if you took the time to leave us a rating and review. Those not only absolutely make our day, but more importantly, it helps other women who may be wanting something more from their midlife to know about us and to listen in as well. You can connect with us on socials too. You'll find links to connect on LinkedIn, Instagram, and email in the show notes.